I never stopped loving her, even after I became suspicious. Several strange things were happening that had never happened in our 15 years of marriage, and my spidey senses were activated. Her outfits and new appearance changed significantly when the new boss took over the office. Our sex life suddenly changed for the better. Now she was really provoking me to have sex, which she had never done before. More frequent texting at night and late meetings after work were now commonplace. Of course, she had the perfect excuses for everything, but for some reason my jealous nature was not happy. I asked the private firm not to tell me anything until the file was ready. I didn't want anything to change between us and prayed that I was just a paranoid husband. After 3 months of investigation, I was given a folder containing news that I hoped would never come. After reviewing the video, audio, and photos, I told Mac, my attorney, to file the divorce papers and have them ready for me by Wednesday afternoon. I planned to go on their date on Thursday night while they thought I was out of town. I have planned a pleasant surprise for this couple. It still amazes me how she could think she could get away with this. Annie knows me better than anyone. She knows how intuitive, strong-willed, and relentless I am. Hell, she saw how ruthless I could be when I took over the company and mercilessly destroyed my competitors. Now I own a controlling stake in a large transport company. Truckers and truck drivers respect me very much and I treat them well. I know they have my back if I ever need them. I gave Annie everything and always treated her like a queen, and she knows it. She tells her friends and family how great I am and how awkward it is that I have a crush on her, but she also tells them how much she loves it. That's why this question still haunts me, even during these last few hours. Why? Why would she risk everything she has for an affair? Having an affair with your boss for sex? Why? This was my most troubling question. Annie had always been a wonderful mother and wife, and it was really hard to understand. Sex was frequent. She took care of the home and worked full-time as an executive assistant at a local technology company. To this day, I would never have thought that she could have had a lover. My name is Luciano Rossetti, and I've been Annie's husband for 15 years. We have 2 teenage daughters who still love their dad. I'm what you would call an alpha male who doesn't take crap from anyone, but treats his wife like the special prize that I knew she was. In our relationship, I let her take charge and feel strong up to a certain point. Thanks to genetics, I inherited my father's physical characteristics. My height is 2 meters, 120 kilograms muscular, imposing figure, but I'm a gentle giant until provoked. Annie saw this a few times when we were hanging out together and some tough guys were hitting on her. Guys are always staring at her and flirting with her, which drives me crazy. One of my shortcomings is my sneaky jealous streak, which, once activated, is difficult to control. Over the years, I have learned to control my anger, but I have not yet mastered this talent. Anyway, Annie has seen me outburst twice in the last 15 years, and she knows what I'm capable of. Twice while we were out, some idiots tried to ask her to dance after she had already told them she was with me. Both times they didn't take no for an answer and pulled her out of the stall while I sat there and watched. They must have thought that since they were big, tough guys, I would just sit there and let them take my wife. Big mistake. The first time it happened was when we were walking, talking about our girls and having fun together. I was stunned when this guy had the nerve to grab her arm and pull her out of the booth. Before he took his first step onto the dance floor, I jumped out of my booth and found myself between him and my wife. With a quick movement, I dislocated his shoulder and pushed him into our booth, where he writhed in pain. Taking Annie, I left the room. Another time it was the same thing, but the guy had a broken wrist and a concussion when we left the bar again. Like I said, I don't take crap from anyone, and my biggest problem is jealousy, which again brings up the question of this affair. Since she knows me, why would she do that? I agreed on everything. One of my assistants accompanied me and will hand me the folder when I am ready. I got there early and gave the hostess a good tip so she could seat them in a more private area. My wonderful wife knew I was out of town, and on the audio, I heard her tell her boss that she was free Thursday night if he still wanted to meet. Of course, this idiot did just that, and excitedly said that he would plan everything. The PI agency installed software for me to add to Annie's phone to receive copies of her text messages and emails. The application also had the function of recording any audio and uploading it to a private server. That Monday, I received a copy of the message he sent to Annie, which included the time he would pick her up, the restaurant they had a reservation at, and that she would dress sexy for him. I spat with anger after reading this and the way my future ex-wife behaved. How this guy had the audacity to pick up my wife at my house. Actually, my plan was simple. Let the lovers get comfortable with their first drink, and then suddenly appear. At this point, I began my speech, which ended with a small threat and unexpected divorce documents. My anger and thirst for revenge grew. I knew deep down that Annie would not want a divorce because she truly loved me and the children. I knew that what I was about to do would crush her and change her life forever. I didn't care, and I just wanted her to feel some of the pain she caused me. I had eyes and backup on the scene, ready to alert me at the right time. So, on Thursday evening, upon receiving word that the loving couple sat down and ordered drinks, I was ready to face them. I got out of the car, entered the restaurant, smiled at the hostess, took a deep breath and, controlling my anger, began to implement my plan. The loving couple sat at their table and my heart sank as I noticed my beautiful wife wearing a sexy cocktail dress with her perfect breasts on full display. This really pissed me off, as she had never dressed like that for me. Why? Why did she do this to me? I couldn't understand it. It didn't make any sense, and it was driving me crazy. Apparently tonight she wanted to be his favorite and look sexy for her boyfriend, and it was driving me nuts. I walked up to their side and made my way to the table without them knowing because they were so romantically focused on each other. How nice. It was only after I moved my chair away from the next table that they noticed my movement. The look on Annie's face was priceless. She looked at me with a combination of shock, fear, and guilt that I had never seen before. Her boyfriend had no idea what was going on and didn't understand that I was her husband. He just looked at me with an annoyed expression on his stupid face. And so it began. "Hey, Annie, are you two having a fun date tonight?" I asked, with a wide smile. "Honey, what are you doing here? I thought you were out of town today. My boss Jeremy invited me to dinner to discuss some changes in the organization. Please join us. Jeremy, this is my husband Luciano," she said in a loving and calm voice. God, she was so smooth. I had to admit that she was cool and recovered quickly. The drink I ordered before arriving at the table arrived, and, ignoring Annie's lies, I proposed a toast. I ignored her question and said with a disarming smile, "Raise your glasses and join me in a little toast. Let's drink to an interesting night and a new direction." After my toast, I smiled and turned to her boss. "Jeremy, do you know why Annie and I were able to remain happily married for 15 years? Honesty and trust. It's as simple as that. Are you married, Jeremy?" Of course, I already knew everything about him from the report. "Yes. I have been married for 20 years and have 4 wonderful children ranging in age from 5 to 13, and I agree with you, Luciano. Trust and honesty are also an important part of our marriage." "I'm so glad to hear that, Jeremy." "Annie, do you feel the same way too?" I asked, knowing I was putting her in a difficult position. "Yes, honey, it was important for our marriage," she said confidently. After all, she had just said that they were just having a business dinner. She had no reason to feel guilty or nervous. "You see, Jeremy, we have an amazing marriage, and Annie knows how much I love her and would do anything for her as long as she remains faithful." I saw them both shudder slightly as I took another sip from my glass. I continued my game. "So, how long have you two been dating?" I asked casually with a wide smile. Annie was irritated, tried to pull herself together, and said indignantly, "Darling, this is a business meeting, and you are putting me in an awkward position in front of my boss. Please stop acting jealous. You know me better than that." Following Annie's example, her boyfriend took the opportunity to put me in my place. "Yes, Luciano, this is just a business dinner. I needed to discuss some changes I was going to make, and I needed to meet with Annie tonight. I'm sorry if you misunderstood, my friend. I would never step outside of my professional relationship, especially with a married woman. I tried to look apologetic and said, "Oh, sorry. So you've never gone on a date with my wife and it's just a business dinner?" "That's right, Luciano. Nothing is happening between us, my friend." "Annie, is this true? Just a business meeting and you've never been on a date with him before?" I asked a question that will determine our future. Honesty or lies? What was it supposed to be? Unfortunately, I had already anticipated the answer before she spoke. "Business meetings only, dear. I would never be with another man, especially my own boss. Now please stop being childish." "I'm sorry, Jeremy. My husband has a slight tendency to be jealous, but he knows how much I love him." I lowered my head, feigning resignation, and said, "Please forgive me. I'm sorry, I'm actually a little jealous. I mean, seeing you in that sexy dress with that handsome man, I hope you can understand." Jeremy patted me on the back, clearly relieved that I had been fooled, and said, "Luciano, no need to apologize. If my wife looked this good and was on a date with a strange man, well, I'm not sure what I would do." Everyone relaxed, and I raised my hand to the man watching us from the bar. He understood my signal and walked over to the table. Everyone looked at him as he handed me a thick folder, turned, and walked away. I saw Annie and Jeremy look at each other questioningly as I opened the folder and began laying out the photos on the table. Just before I placed the first photograph on the table, I turned to Annie and spoke in a quiet, sad voice. "Annie, you know that I loved you with all my heart and would give the whole world to you. You took my love and all the years of our marriage and threw it all away. You hurt me deeply, and I will never forget those videos and what you said about me on the tapes. I will never be able to get them out of my head for the rest of my life. Thank you for this." Annie gasped and brought her hands to her mouth. Jeremy was angry and wanted to know where I got these photos from, but I just told him to shut the fuck up. Annie was now openly sobbing and begging me to stop. Other tables were facing our direction, and I tried to turn down the volume so as not to disturb the entire restaurant. Annie realized how bad it looked, and she had only one choice. "I'm sorry, baby. Can we just leave and I'll explain what happened? It's not really what it looks like." I looked at her with a surprised expression and asked very slowly, "Isn't this what it looks like? Are you going to keep lying to me? Before you do this, you both should know that I have hours of video, audio, text messages, emails, and photos. Annie, I have to say that after watching these videos, I never thought you could be so slutty. You've never shared this side of yourself with me, and it hurts. I have spent a fortune in the last 3 months to get this information, and it is all legit. So believe me, I understand everything." Putting the documents away, I said, "Now let me explain why I'm here and what's going to happen tonight." Then I handed Annie the divorce papers and said, "Annie, it's over between us. You and your boyfriend ruined our marriage and my love for you. You have hurt me like I have never felt before, and I will never be with you again. So you sign this tonight, and my fellow lawyer, a notary, will notarize your signature. If you don't sign tonight, I will show all the video and audio to your parents, all our friends, and your children will know what kind of mother you are. I treated you fairly during the divorce, but the girls will live with me. There is no way my daughters will live with a cheater like you. Jeremy, my friend, I suggest you convince your girlfriend to sign this before I leave. Otherwise, I will give copies of all the evidence to your wife and your management team at work. When I'm done, you won't have a job, and I'll definitely convince your wife, Sarah, to throw you out and ruin you financially for a very long time. Now, I don't want to do any of that, so just convince her to sign the divorce papers, and then my future ex-wife is all yours. I never want anything to do with her again." These words struck a nerve in her. The thought of losing her daughters was something else she couldn't come to terms with. Tears were streaming down her face and her boyfriend looked panicked. Annie begged me to stop and reconsider. She told me the usual nonsense. "It's not what it looks like. Let me explain. I'll make it up to you. It was just a mistake. Please forgive me. Blah, blah, blah." She finished with the words, "Luciano, I love you and I don't want this. Please give me one more chance. Ignoring her pleas, I stood up and said, I'm going to the men's room, and when I return, I want the papers signed. If they are not signed, I promise that both of you will not be able to comprehend how much hell I will bring into your lives. I left Annie crying and her lover in shock. I knew Jeremy would do everything in his power to get her to sign those papers to save his own ass. While I was gone, Jeremy quickly spoke. He knew that he would never allow his wife and his colleagues to see these videos and would do everything in his power to prevent this. He had to convince Annie to sign the papers. Annie, just sign them and then ask him to keep them for a week to give you a chance to talk. You need to convince him that you love him. Tell him you'll go to therapy no matter what it takes, but make him wait a week. Tell him that this is the least he can do in 15 years of marriage for just one mistake. This is the only chance I see for you right now. I can tell that he is not fooling around, and if he has video and audio recordings, we are both screwed. I don't want a divorce, she screamed. Trust me, if you make him wait, I'm sure you can save your marriage. Think about the children. You don't want to lose the girls, do you? Tears welled up in my eyes again, and after a few minutes I returned to the table. Well, have you signed them yet? With the saddest face I've ever seen, she looked me in the eyes and said, Honey, I'll do whatever you want, including signing these papers, but please give me a week before I do anything. Please let me go home with you and give me at least that much. After 15 years, please give me 1 week to be with my girls and talk. I sat silently and looked into her eyes for a long time, thinking about her request. I gave in and said, even though you deserve shit from me for what you did and how you ruined our marriage because of that asshole, I will give it to you. You can go home and you will have a week before I give the documents to my lawyer. You will stay in one of the guest bedrooms. I don't want you near my bed at this time. Now sign them so I can get out of here. She signed the papers, and I put them in a folder, then stood up to leave. Before leaving, I took her hand, and she smiled, until she realized that I was taking off her wedding rings. I put them in my pocket, and then took off the ring I had worn for 15 years. I picked it up while she was looking at it, and casually tossed it into her wine glass. The look on her face gave me only a little satisfaction, but when she started crying again, it made me smile a little because I knew she was starting to feel my pain. I turned to Jeremy and said, Well, asshole, she's yours. Do whatever you want with her. I'm leaving. But remember this, Jeremy. You had sex with my wife, destroyed our marriage, and jeopardized so many things, including my children's love for their mother. Do not fool me. You're lucky I didn't go through with my original plans for you. It's not over between us yet. You will hear from me soon. Understood? Jeremy nodded quietly as I hovered over him. Looks like I may have ruined their plans for the evening. I wonder if they'll want sex after I'm gone. As I started to leave, Annie grabbed my hand and said, Luciano, can I please go home with you? I just want to be with you. Please. I pulled my hands away as if they had been touched with a hot iron and said, Fuck you. I don't want to be seen with you. Today, you are his toy. I'll see you after he's done with you, either tonight or tomorrow. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. You have 1 week. You disgust me, and I am ashamed that I was your husband. I really didn't care. I felt like I had my jealousy and anger under control. I was proud that I was able to suppress all the pent-up rage. I heard her come home about an hour later that evening, and to her credit, she headed straight to the guest room. She realized that evening I would never be able to talk to her calmly. We met the next morning in the kitchen when I came down for coffee. I was still in the mood for revenge and said, Good morning, traitor. How is my cheating wife doing today? She cringed, looked down at her coffee, and uttered exactly the words that every cheating wife who gets caught cheating and wants to save her marriage says, Honey, we need to talk. Look, we have nothing to talk about, Annie. I know what you did. I know how long you've been doing this. I know everything you told him about me and our marriage. I saw you do things to him that you never did to me. I saw how you dress it for him. I know it's bigger and better. I've heard it 100 times in your videos. You lied, hid, deceived, and took me for a fool. I can't believe you were so stupid. If I don't understand something, then we can talk. Otherwise, I have nothing to say. I'm the fool, not you. I don't know why I let this happen. You gave me everything I ever wanted, and I love you no matter what you heard in those videos. You have to know, I never wanted to hurt you, and I never wanted you to find out, she said with tears streaming down her face. That's exactly my problem, Annie. You never wanted me to find out. You wanted to keep it a secret and continue to lie and have fun with your lover behind my back. That's the real problem, Annie. I can forgive infidelity, damn it. We are all human and make mistakes. But this was not a mistake. You wanted this, and you wanted to keep it a secret and continue to lie, cheat, and hide your relationship. I love you, Annie, but as Tina Turner says, what does love have to do with it? My trust is lost, and I wonder if I ever really knew you. How many other men were there? How many times have you had fun with your lover and returned to my bed? I'm so disgusted that I can barely speak. Sobbing, she now understood how I felt and realized what she had done. She had no objections or excuses, but she admitted her wrongdoing. Okay, I'm guilty, and I hate myself. I've never had anyone else, and no matter what I say, I know you can't forgive me for what I did, but I don't want to get a divorce. I'll do whatever you want to stay in this with you. I think I need counseling, and maybe we could go together to find out what's wrong with me. Please do not leave me. I was silent for a while and said, Annie, you can go to a psychologist, find out everything you need, and I will support you, but I can't live with a woman who, be able to talk to her calmly. We met the next morning in the kitchen when I came down for coffee. I was still in the mood for revenge and said, Good morning, traitor. How is my cheating wife doing today? She cringed, looked down at her coffee, and uttered exactly the words that every cheating wife who gets caught cheating and wants to save her marriage says, Honey, we need to talk. Look, we have nothing to talk about, Annie. I know what you did. I know how long you've been doing this. I know everything you told him about me and our marriage. I saw you do things to him that you never did to me. I saw how you dress it for him. I know it's bigger and better. I've heard it 100 times in your videos. You lied, hid, deceived, and took me for a fool. I can't believe you were so stupid. If I don't understand something, then we can talk. Otherwise, I have nothing to say. I'm the fool, not you. I don't know why I let this happen. You gave me everything I ever wanted, and I love you no matter what you heard in those videos. You have to know, I never wanted to hurt you, and I never wanted you to find out, she said with tears streaming down her face. That's exactly my problem, Annie. You never wanted me to find out. You wanted to keep it a secret and continue to lie and have fun with your lover behind my back. That's the real problem, Annie. I can forgive infidelity, damn it. We are all human and make mistakes. But this was not a mistake. You wanted this, and you wanted to keep it a secret and continue to lie, cheat, and hide your relationship. I love you, Annie, but as Tina Turner says, what does love have to do with it? My trust is lost, and I wonder if I ever really knew you. How many other men were there? How many times have you had fun with your lover and returned to my bed? I'm so disgusted that I can barely speak. Sobbing, she now understood how I felt and realized what she had done. She had no objections or excuses, but she admitted her wrongdoing. Okay, I'm guilty, and I hate myself. I've never had anyone else, and no matter what I say, I know you can't forgive me for what I did, but I don't want to get a divorce. I'll do whatever you want to stay in this with you. I think I need counseling, and maybe we could go together to find out what's wrong with me. Please do not leave me. I was silent for a while and said, Annie, you can go to a psychologist, find out everything you need, and I will support you, but I can't live with a woman who can leave me so carelessly. Your actions and what you said told me your true feelings, and I don't see how I could live with someone who has those feelings for me. I know there are other women who would be more than happy to be with me. You had your chance, and you voluntarily took it. Enjoy your week here with the girls, and try to explain why you're leaving. I won't put you down, but you need to tell them you're leaving and why. In the divorce agreement, I gave you full access to the girls anytime you want, but they will live with me. If you continue to be a womanizer and be a bad example for the girls, I will make your visits much more difficult. Look, I'll treat you better than you deserve and help you save your relationships with girls, but I have 2 questions I'd like answers to. Listen to my questions and think about them before answering. My first question is, why? Why did you risk everything for this? My second question, was it worth it? I called Jeremy the following Monday and asked him to meet me for lunch on Wednesday. After convincing him of how smart it would be to meet with me, I explained to Jeremy how upset I was that he had ruined my marriage and how close he was to getting kicked out. I then explained that I had a better plan for him. During lunch, I explained how many people had suffered because he seduced a married woman. I explained how I expected him to pay the damages. He was going to pay Annie's rent and car payments over the next 3 years. I felt like he must be a little hurt because of his actions. I explained how it would work. I'll send you payment information so you can set up automatic payments. This is your punishment, and believe me, you will get off easy. Even though I broke up with my wife, I still love her and want her to be taken care of. Since you are the one who caused this, you will fulfill my demands. This agreement will help Annie get back on her feet after I kick her out. I don't care how you do it, but if you don't follow through, I'll make sure you lose your job and Sarah finds out about your infidelity. As a side benefit, you stay alive. All this because you had to seduce a married woman. Assholes like you need to understand that your actions have consequences. Why not court single girls instead of breaking up families? That was a really shitty move, Jeremy. I treated Annie well, allowed her to visit the children, and kept their relationship strong. We remained friends, but she never returned my respect or trust. Jeremy made these payments every month based on my threat hanging over his head. Annie was never able to explain or answer these questions to my satisfaction. It was clear to her that her deception and lies were not worth it, and she regretted that she had done it, but she could not explain why. Now she lives alone, without a boyfriend and without the love she once had. I could have destroyed her, but losing her family and my love was revenge enough. Even after her consultation, the answer to the question, why, still could not be explained. The best she could come up with at the moment was, I don't know why, it just happened. It had nothing to do with you or our marriage because I really love you and I was happy with our sex and our life together. But it was something new and exciting. I screwed up. I couldn't help myself. Annie, if you were happy, why would you dress up and wear sexy clothes for him? Why would you dress like that and do things for him that you never did to me? Perhaps if you had made such an effort with me, we would not be in this situation. It just happened is not really an answer. You did this over and over again, and each time you dress it in a way that would excite him. But you tell me that you loved me. I hope someday you can tell me why. I think you owe a lot to all of us. Married partners must consider their actions and the consequences they inevitably entail. The path of destruction left behind is greater and more lasting than the thrill of sexual gratification. Talk to your partner. Either share each other's needs or end the relationship. But betrayal is a painful act with lasting consequences.
Thanks for hanging out and listening. If you liked the story, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Make sure to check out our other wild tales right here on the end screen. Catch you in the next story.